Hello, and welcome to our channel. This time we will be presenting Hanami-Koji, a Japanese-themed card game for 2 players. In Hanami-Koji, players compete to win the favor of 7 geishas by collecting different items. It is an easy and entertaining game, suitable for people over 7 and with a length of about 15 minutes. Let's see what Hanami-Koji is about! We will start by looking at the components. Apart from the rulebook, we find 7 geisha cards, 21 item cards, 8 action markers, 4 for each player, and 7 favor markers. Geisha cards on the one hand will tell us the number of item cards available to win their favor. In this case, there are 4 cards with the item this geisha wants. This number also indicates the charm points we will get at the end of the round if we manage to win the favor of the geisha. Then we see some Japanese kanji with the name of the item that corresponds to the geisha on the card. If you don't know Japanese, don't worry, simply look at the illustration to check the item the geisha has. In this case, we see a tea service. Item cards are the ones we will have to collect in order to win the favor of the geishas. They will also have a number printed on them, showing the number of charm points the corresponding geisha is worth, the name of the object in Japanese, and a drawing of the object so that it can be perfectly identified. There are cards with Japanese flutes, fans, scrolls, umbrellas, samisens, tea services, and hairpins. The game preparation is very simple. We will start by placing the 7 geisha cards in the center of the table, following this order. Then, we will take the item cards and stack them in a pile to the right of the geisha cards. Next, each player will place the action markers in front of them. Finally, a favor marker will be placed in the middle of each geisha card. Now, we will be ready to start playing. The youngest player will be the starting player. First, shuffle the item cards and discard one of them. This card will not be used during the game. Then, deal each player 6 cards as their hand and place the remaining ones as the item deck next to the row of geisha cards. Now, the action phase begins. The starting player will be first. Before performing an action, players must draw a card from the item deck. Then, they will choose which action they want to perform first. As we have said, there are 4 different types of action. There is a secret action, in which we must choose a card from our hand and put it face down under the secret action marker. When performing an action, we must flip the marker face down to show that we have already performed that action. This card will be revealed and scored in the scoring phase. Another action is to discard. We must select 2 cards from our hand and place them face down under the discard marker. These cards won't be used during the game, and therefore they won't be scored in the scoring phase. The next possible action is the gift. We will have to choose 3 cards from our hand and place them face up within our opponent's reach. Our opponent chooses 1 card and places it on their side next to the corresponding geisha. For example, if a hairpin card is chosen, it must be placed in the column of the geisha who wants that item. Then, we will place the 2 remaining cards on our side. In this case, they are also 2 hairpins. Finally, there is the action of competition. We will choose 4 cards from our hand, and then we will put them on the table, dividing them into 2 groups of 2. The other player must choose one of the pairs and then place them next to the corresponding geishas. We will do the same with the remaining pair of cards. During your turn, you can perform any of these 4 actions. There is no fixed action order. Players will alternate to take one turn until both of them have taken the 4 actions. Now, we will be ready to start the scoring phase. Both players reveal the card under the secret markers and place it on their side next to the corresponding geisha. Now, they will be ready to start the scoring. Let's imagine that we have the following configuration at the end of the game. Players have to compare the number of item cards on both sides of each geisha. The side which has more cards wins the favor of the geisha. To show it, move the corresponding favor marker to the winning side. If any player wins the favor of 4 of the geishas, the game ends immediately and that player becomes the winner. If that's not the case, they should calculate the total number of charm points from the geishas they have won the favor of. If any of the player has 11 points or more, the game will end and the player will be the winner. In this example, we notice that none of them has won the favor of 4 geishas. Player 1 has only won the favor of 2, scoring a total of 8 points. and player 2 has also won the favor of 2 geishas, scoring 6 points. Since both players have failed to fulfill any of the 2 winning conditions, they will have to play another round. Pick up all the item cards on the table and in the box and stack them face down into a pile. Be careful, favor markers must remain in place. In the next scoring phase, if one player had more item cards than their opponent, they will win the favor of the geisha and the marker will then move to their side. If tied, the marker would return to the center of the geisha card. In the following round, the starting player will be the other player. The starting player will shuffle the item cards, remove one from the game, and then deal 6 cards to each player. Then, they will proceed performing the 4 possible actions, taking turns. If after performing the 4 actions, neither player reaches the winning goal, players will play another game until the aforementioned conditions are met. Players can also determine a maximum number of rounds before starting the game. If that's the case, the player who has the most points in the last round will be the winner. If there is a tie, the player who has won the favor of the geisha with the highest number of charm points will win, and if they are still drawn, players will share the victory. As you have seen, it is a simple but entertaining game in which we will have to compete to win the favor of the geishas. Since players take turns to perform their actions, the game becomes really dynamic. The art is fantastic. My Shirley-chan never disappoints us. The only thing we can complain about is the quality of the cards. They are really thin for a game with such a lot of interaction. The games can be quite short, but you can always play a new one. In brief, Hanami-Koji is a fascinating 2-player game in which you should try to mislead your opponent so that they don't discover your strategy while you win the favor of different geishas. We hope to read your comments, and remember to subscribe to the channel and click the bell if you don't want to miss our latest videos. We will continue playing in our next video.